Welcome back to another Dynodaze video, and as you can see, a glorious JDM white EP3 Honda Civic Type R on the dyno. Today this one's here for a remap, and it's using the Doctronic ECU. Now the Doctronic ECU is already in the car and it's been driven here, but we're not sure what information is already on there. So instead of doing a stock power run, what we're going to do is we're going to just start tuning so that we know it's safe, so that we don't do a wide open throttle run and something is amiss. So we're just going to crack on with the tuning. Yeah, let's do it. Nice. Mitch thinks it's mini disc.
I do. I think that's disc, and I think that's mini disc. That's very retro looking. Come back a little bit. Oh, I actually really like that.
Yeah. Well, you've got an EP3. Why don't you get something like that?
Well, someone will just steal it when it's parked down the yard, won't they?
You're right. You're right. The car doesn't go anywhere, so you don't, unless you're going to sit in the yard and listen to music.
Listen to music. I'm not going to get any benefit.
Right, let's get on with this.
Okay. JDM white EP3 in the house today for map on this Doctronic ECU. Few issues to begin with.
Well, not necessarily issues as such to begin with, but basically where we started with the customer was, he says he had his original ECU fail on him, or he had an issue with his original ECU. I don't know exactly what was going on there. He didn't fully understand either, but he sent his ECU away, and they had it sent back and said there's nothing to do with it. The ECU was damaged.
Toast.
So it was toast. So, okay, fair enough. We all understand that. That's how these things work sometimes. Maybe not an explanation. So he spoke to Doctronic, and they sent him out a replacement ECU, which obviously you can buy and not just trade in your old one or whatever. So buy an ECU. He said he fitted the ECU, and then he had all sorts of running problems and issues, and it wouldn't play ball. I think what happened at that particular point was, because he said he took the O2 sensor out and he moved the second O2 sensor forward. So I think he took the primary O2 sensor out and unplugged it, because obviously it's wideband, and the ECU supplied with was a European ECU, which obviously is narrowband. So I believe that's what was causing his issues, and obviously he was advised to remove the primary O2 sensor and move the second one forward. I'm not really understanding why that, or maybe he misunderstood what was said there. Again, this is third hand, it's coming from the customer to us. So he said he moved them around. So we said, okay, well we'll start with, let's have a look and see if we've got the original ECU in there, if we've got a JDM ECU, because obviously if you've only got a European one, then we're not going to be able to have wideband control or lambda control, and we obviously then it's not going to make any adjustments to your cruise fuel and stuff when you're driving along.
That affects your miles per gallon.
It affects your miles per gallon. It'll be working on map solely, which is okay. You can do that, but it's not the best thing for miles per gallon. The ECU.
It's a step backwards.
It's a step back with this car, because it's narrowband on the EP3, which is a step back, you know, back to the old days, and obviously it's a wideband on these. So ultimately I would want it working if it was my car. Unfortunately, like I said, it had the European ECU with the Doctronic in it, so at no point, whether we'd have even plugged his sensors back in again, there's nothing we could do, because obviously it's not equipped to run that. So we've advised the customer that he may be best to have a look, see if he can get himself out of a JDM ECU from the EP3 or the DC5 that's compatible. Then he can put his narrowband, his wideband solid back in the exhaust, and then obviously we can just activate it again in the map and turn it all back on, and it'll do what it needs to do. But obviously moving forward at that point, he says, can you at least map the car? Because obviously I've travelled a fair way today.
It's not his daily.
It's not his daily either, so he's not too worried about 100% fuel economy. So yeah, we've tuned.
Now it's got some mods.
It has got some mods.
It's got an M2 inlet manifold.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of a homebrew induction kit.
No, it's got a Tegiwa on it.
But it didn't fit his throttle body, so he made a section between those two sections.
Yeah, okay, but the actual induction kit for most part is a Tegiwa letterbox airbox.
And then it's got a Japspeed 4-to-1 mated to a Tegiwa 70mm exhaust system.
Yeah, so all round generally good mods. I mean, the M2 inlet manifolds, like we talked about before, and even the customer said to us this morning, to be fair, he said he's had M2 stuff before and he's happy with it. He said,
yeah, because he's got an Evo, did you say? Yeah, so he's had M2 stuff on his Evo, and that was all.
Yeah, it was all good. He said, but the inlet manifold, we took it out of the box all full of swarf and one thing or another, and he wasn't happy, about that. And I said, unfortunately, that's the way
you get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for, and that's the way they are.
If that's your budget, that's what you get.
Yeah, the ports, what we talked about before, the ports are not done as nicely as others, and they don't line up 100% as others do. But I understand there's a budget for everybody, and that's fine. Obviously, it would be a shame if you just chucked a load of metal filings into your JDM.
But that's the difference between paying a 6-year-old Taiwanese girl to make something and paying a 10-year-old Taiwanese girl to make something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, they're all probably made in the same factory anyway.
So.
But the quality of finish is where you pay the extra money for, ain't it?
Good. Quality control.
Yeah. So you'd be pretty gutted, I think, if you just took your JDM ECU out with a load of swarf and filings in the inside of an inlet manifold. Luckily, the customer was wise to that and saw it and cleaned it out and didn't have that problem. But we have known people fit fuel rails, haven't we, and take injectors out doing exactly the same thing. We've known people fit inlet manifolds and damaged engines doing the same thing. So it's, it is seen and it is documented on the internet. So I think most people the answer is, if you've got a part, give it a good clean out with a tin of brake cleaner, make sure there's nothing in there, and then you've covered yourself on all bases, didn't you? And you know it's going to be all right. Yeah.
Now, it actually made all right power though, didn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, I think
240.
240 we finished on. Yeah, so I'm really happy with that.
Now, as I said at the start of the video, because the ECU was already in the car and it was driven here, and we didn't know what was on there, we decided not to do a stock power run because we didn't want to take it wide open throttle, especially when we knew we had some sensory issues. So we just started tuning. Yeah,
we just started tuning. We like I said, like Dan says, we didn't do a base run because obviously we realised like quickly on that the ECU wasn't necessarily right
set up.
I mean, obviously he's driven the car here, so it must have been relatively okay. But we just didn't want to run that risk. We wanted to start again with our own file and get going basically, rather than just risking revving the car out for no reason really. Just to basically get a before figure.
I like a white EP3 though, so it has put a smile on my face today.
Yeah, they do look really nice, don't they? I like them myself, I must admit.
Why haven't you got a white EP3?
Because it was just red, the one I bought.
Because I know your collection is possibly heading down the route where they will all be white.
Yeah, very possibly. At some stage it may have to get painted, mightn't it? Just to conform with the rest of the group.
Because obviously when you buy your FK2 and your FK8, you'll be able to buy them in white.
No, you see, I don't want the turbo ones.
You want to end on the FO2 because it's the last of the
NA
Civics.
I just want to, I'd like one of all. I've got a 4th gen, I've got a 5th, I've got a 6th, I've got a 7th. I don't have the 8th, which is FN2.
I've got that though.
But Dan has got that in white, so maybe it's
maybe I can park mine on the end of his collection.
Yeah, at some point, maybe I'll buy it, or maybe I'll just make Dan park it on the end and make out that it's mine.
He'll wait until I'm destitute.
Yeah.
He'll wait until I've spent all my money on Mackies, and oh my god, I've got to sell this car.
But yeah, I mean, I'd love to say I'd have one of every generation and go for a 3rd, a 2nd, and a 1st, but they just don't exist. Or they do exist, but they're not fuel injection, and they're old carb cars, and they're hard to get working, and they're very rusty. How old is your oldest
Civic? We're getting off topic here, but how old is your oldest Civic? 91.
91. It's sort of H on 91.
So what's before that?
I don't know, the 3rd gen, third, 2nd and 1st gen, but you just don't see them. They're very rarely around. Yeah,
I see that one that Suki Stackhouse drives, I think, on True Blood, but that's like a bit more shaped like my my Colt from 1980.
Yeah, I think the Mark III shapes are very similar to that, but the Mark III shapes have got like a real big rear window on them, almost like your Colt, if you get what I mean. So they're very sort of similar to that, but like I say, they're all carb cars. They're all like 1.3 carbs or 1.2 carbs or whatever. So
they're already in someone's collection.
Yeah, exactly. They're already in someone's collection, and
you're not picking one up, are you?
Yeah, not picking one up. And I sort of, at the end of the day, I sort of want to drive them, and I like the double overhead cam, VTEC, blah blah blah, and it's that's what appeals me to it. The Mark 4 going backwards doesn't necessarily appeal, so I probably won't bother. But it'd be nice to have a collection, like, you know, like Dennis Collins from
I know you mean.
Yeah, from Richard Rawlins' friend, because he likes to collect things and just have
Yeah.
loads of collection. I've got this little fantasy dream about having it, but whether I actually will ever complete my collection, I don't know.
Comment down below, what do you collect? If you have a collection of something, whether it's stamps, garbage pail kids, or I don't know, old coins, if you do collect something that's nothing to do with cars, let us know down below.
Shall we have a look at this graph?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go on.
I collect scars.
Yeah.
So there she is, as linear as can be, and finished on 239.4. Well, I'm calling that 240 anyway. So 196 at the wheels. What a beautiful car. An absolutely beautiful car, and a pleasure to work on. It's nice to see a white one. It's a little bit different, isn't it? Even though Cosmic Grey is my favourite colour. Again, comment below if you've got a Cosmic Grey EP3. But yes, JDM in white, very, very nice. So thanks for sticking around to the end of the video, guys. Like and subscribe and all that jazz. If you need any help with your ECU options on the EP3, we can tune on anything here at Dynodaze. Whether it's K100, K-Pro, Honda Vert or Doctronic, you give us a shout and we'll do you a quote. Speak soon.
Said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast.